Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm so excited to share this special conversation between our senior pastor, Stephen Chandler, and Anthony O'Neill around Pastor Stephen's book, Stop Waiting for Permission. Pastor Stephen takes us on his personal journey of how he came to write the book and what he hopes audiences will gain from reading and applying the principles found in it. This conversation will frustrate you to remove the barriers holding you back, unlock your unique purpose, and maximize your potential. The book is available everywhere books are sold. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this powerful message. We believe that God has a word just for you and those you love. So let's jump into this inspiring conversation.
And so can y'all help me welcome to the stage our pastor, the one and only, Stephen Chandler! Woo! Okay, let's go. Union!
What's poppin'? This is hard because it's like book release, but it's catalyst. And
Oh, man.
I'm like, I want to lay on the ground and weep and cry, and God's presence is here. But
Yeah, I feel you.
my man, Ayo.
Ooh. Here we go.
So about this book, I wrote. Go ahead.
No, I got one last question. I want to ask a question for them to really get to know you. What is one thing you regret spending money on?
One
And
thing.
it can't be what you spent on your wife.
That's a different story for a different day. You know, let's talk about my wife just for a second. It stinks buying gifts for someone and finding out 7 years into marriage
That they don't
that
like
gifts is not their love language.
Brother?
I could have saved a whole lot of money. Okay, so since I'm my wife throwing under the bus, before we were married, we were just dating.
Okay.
I told this story last Sunday. She fell asleep. I was dropping her home at New Year's Eve, 4 a.m. It's all her fault.
Yeah.
Listen. And
Hey.
listen, focus people.
Yeah.
So anyway, I totaled the car. Car was totaled completely, so I had to go get a new car. And I knew the car I wanted to get.
Yeah.
And I was confused. You know, I was trying to be like this, listen to your girlfriend type of deal. And
At 4 a.m.
No. This was the next week. Calm down. This is what friends. So anyway, long story short, bought a car that she said, you should buy this car. And it was the worst car I bought in my life. It broke down every 2 weeks from the day I bought it to the day I sold it. And I should have bought the car I wanted.
Yeah, you should have watched my show a little bit more often. But all right. So when we look at you, right, you've done something that I believe most 20-something-year-olds will not do. When you look at the studies today, someone in their 20s, especially you started pastoring at 23.
Yeah.
Someone at 23, they're not really thinking about pastoring. They're not thinking about nothing major. They're just now getting out of school. They're trying to pay off debt. They're out there partying. They're drinking. You know what they do.
I do, because they're in Freedom Conference every...
Even just because they have Freedom Conference, we don't know. Here we go. I'm sorry. So I got to ask you this question. At 23, what made you accept the calling on your life when the average person in your age bracket wasn't even thinking like that?
Yeah. So 2 angles I'm going to come at it from. The first is just a home that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And part of it was my amazing parents that just kind of instilled in us, you have a purpose, you have a plan, don't waste time, don't waste your life.
Right.
So I got that from birth.
Wow.
It was, what's God called you to do? And one of the things I love about my dad in particular is my dad was a senior pastor, but he never pressured me into ministry. He never said, I'm a pastor, you're gonna be a pastor, ministry is a family business or whatever it may be. Right. I was free to do whatever I wanted as long as it was what God called me to do. And it was, you're gonna do what God's called you to do. The other thing is, so my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was 16. My oldest sister had 3 brain surgeries by the time I was 13. And then my youngest sister was born premature, was in the hospital for months and months and months.
Right.
So life was just painful. Like I remember, being 13 and gathering with my family, praying for the life of my sister or for my mom, and when life is not easy, you grow up quickly.
Ooh.
You don't have a lot of time for it. Just the pain of life brings life into perspective.
Yeah.
So I would say it wasn't 23 that I started thinking about what I'm gonna do with my life. It was 16.
So at 16, between 16 and 23, were you ever fearful of accepting that calling?
So I didn't want to be a pastor at all until I got filled with the Holy Spirit at 16. And God literally, the Bible arrested me.
Yeah.
My goal was I ain't gonna be a pastor because I saw my dad be a pastor and he had to deal with people and people be crazy. So I said I want no part of that. So my whole plan was I was gonna own a restaurant, want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
When I own a restaurant, I was gonna be filthy rich.
Yeah.
And I was gonna give to the church, and that was gonna be. So that was my whole
thing.
business school, blah 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 blah. And then at 16, God just arrested my heart. Actually, with the verse that my wife said, Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you," says the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you. It's like that verse jumped up and smacked me in the face. And I have an older sister that is one of the most gifted people. She's actually in the book. One of the most gifted people I've ever encountered in my life. A classical pianist. Got into all the Ivy League schools she applied to. Just genius. Yeah. And you're coming up as a second after that. She's getting all the awards and all the praise and all the accolades. And then there's Stephen, who average grades, all that kind of stuff. So I believed the lie of the enemy. That there was nothing unique about me, there was nothing special about me because I wasn't like my sister.
Wow.
Plus, my older sister is this big extrovert. she walks in a room, everybody loves her, everybody knows her. I'm like, whatever an introvert is, I'm like,
Right.
Like I gotta become more of a people person to become an introvert.
Yeah.
It's like I ain't even there yet.
Right.
And I didn't understand the God uniqueness in my personality yet. So I thought, I'm invisible, I'm not gifted, there's not much to me. And then I come across this verse, Jeremiah 29:11, that said God had a plan for me. Plan to prosper me, not to harm me, plan to give me hope and a future.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. Wow. And then the next thing that happened, and it was, wow, my wife said you heard from God when you were 16. I actually did. I didn't sleep for 3 days straight.
Wow.
And for 3 days, I had visions of my friends. I could see faces walking the streets of Baltimore, not knowing that God had a plan for their life. And it arrests, I don't even know if that's when I accepted the call to ministry. It was the point where I said, God, I want to give my life to helping other people find what I found.
Yeah.
And that is that you see me, that you know me, and that you have a plan for my life. I'll just give you this as a pastor really quickly. I love when people get saved, but my passion isn't even salvation. And I know it sounds awkward as a pastor. For me, salvation is like the starting point. And now that we got that out the way, let's get on to destiny. Let's get on to purpose. Let's get on to your kingdom call, because that's where it's just my passion.
I think when people hear get to your destiny, get to your to everything that God has for you, I think fear creeps in. Every year, you and I, we go golfing. We get away as just brothers, and we just talk about life. And on our last golf trip,
when I beat you,
it's his night. I'm gonna let him have it tonight. Watch my show on Wednesday. He's on my show.
And it's your night.
Truth comes out then. But we was on a golf course, and it was a par 5. And I remember you hit a real good drive, I hit a real good drive. Both of us landed right to where we had to hit over a long thing of like water. It was like the ocean on the right-hand side.
I remember that whole, yeah.
Yeah. And I was next to you, maybe on the left. I saw that water, and I said, I'm not going that way. I'm gonna take an extra 2-3 strokes because I was fearful of losing my ball. You walk up to your ball.
What did I do?
You looked, it was like, you're weak. You ask me, what's the distance? I'm like, well, ask him. Why are you asking me? You get the distance. You go for the shortest drive over this long thing of water. You set up. I'm like, you're not going to do this. It's going to end in the water, and I'm going to beat you. You set up, all confident and arrogant like you are. Watch this. You take your time. It literally took you like 5 minutes to hit this ball. Me and our other friends like, yo, can you hurry up and hit it? You took your time. You hit it. And on the inside, I'm saved. But on the inside, I was like, what the? And you landed 10 feet from the hole.
233 if you were wondering.
Say it again.
233 if you were wondering.
Arrogant. I was paralyzed. It took me longer to get somewhere because my fears blocked me from going for that thing. You, Pastor Stephen, who heard from God at 16, must have heard from God on that day. When did you realize that some of our fears paralyzes us from actually accomplishing and winning the way God wants us to win?
Come on now. So I really hope this doesn't sound arrogant or that I'm superhuman or whatever it may be, and I promise I'm as human as the next person. I'm not afraid of failure. Like I'm not afraid of failure.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm not afraid of failure is because I'm genuinely not defined by my performance.
Right. That's good.
So many people, they find their identity in how people see them and how they perform.
Wow.
So if people see them one way, they feel good. If they perform well, they feel good. They perform poorly, they feel like I am horrible.
Right.
If people see them horribly, they feel like that's who I am. Ooh. And God has, okay, can we talk for real?
Yeah.
So whatever a loser is, I don't know what the definition of a loser is.
Right.
But that's who I was. From like 13, 17, 18, not a lot of friends, introvert, not super outgoing. I wasn't the life of the party. I wasn't the person everybody wanted to hang out with or whatever it may be. So there was no external affirmation for me to feed off of.
Right.
And because there was no external affirmation for me to feed off of, I had no choice but to go to God.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to sound like I was so spiritual. I went to God. He was my last option.
Right. Gotcha.
But he was my only option. And in those seasons of being invisible when nobody cared about me, I truly did find my identity in God.
Wow.
To the point now where some people know me and see me and all that other good stuff, and they have great things to say about me and they have horrible things to say about me and all that other good stuff. It really doesn't move me because I was anchored when nobody knew me. So now that people know me, I still have that anchor. So because of that, I really am. Where's Union College at? Come on now. So I have this personal creed. My past is redeemed.
Okay.
My future secure.
Yep.
So now I'm free to lead and to serve.
Come on.
And I forgot the rest of it. But anyway, I'm not paralyzed by people's opinion and I'm not paralyzed by failure.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I know every great person has failed at some point. And they still turned out great.
Yeah.
So one failure, come on, you're a golfer. One bad hole, there's 18 holes. I mean, you forgot it on that hole, but there's 18 holes. I don't have to nail 18 holes.
Facts.
I just got to have a great score on more holes than I have a horrible score.
There you go.
And I'll still be good.
I love it. You know, when you sent me this book, you sent me the advanced reader's copy, right? And when I first saw it, I was like, all right, stop waiting for permission. I put it down because I was like, well, I'm not married. I don't have to ask for permission.
We're gonna go there tonight. He's out here.
So I was like, all right, cool. Then God said, pick it back up, boy. And I was like, all right. Harness your gifts, find your purpose, and unleash your personal genius. I said, oh, maybe it's not for just married people. I gotta ask you though, because honestly, when I picked this book up, I laughed. I said, well, shoot, I'm not married. I can do whatever I want to do.
It's probably why you're single. I'm sorry, go ahead. You had a question. Stop. This is like...
Now y'all see why we brothers. Exactly what we talk about on the golf course. But that's good. You know what? Here's my thing. If we don't get to this book, I hate it when married people ask single people why you're single. Because the next question I want to ask is, well, why are you still married? Anyways, let's get back here.
All right, here we go. Who's the book for?
Yeah. So if you didn't write it for only married people, who was the book for?
This book is for everyone. And here's why. I find there's so many people that have not maximized their potential. Greatest football player ever to live, Ray Lewis, said, come on now, say something. This man said, I left it all on the field. Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah.
A lot of people go home after work and they still got more energy.
Right.
They're not maximizing every area of their life.
That's good.
And really, the purpose of this book is to help people, hey, there's so much more inside of you. Yes. Some people are paralyzed by fear and they won't even try. And then some people, because they're further ahead than their parents were, or they're further ahead than their friend circle is, they feel very content and complacent and like, man, look what I've done because I got a master's degree. I made my first $1 million. I have a business or whatever it may be. And it's like, so what? You beat somebody that wasn't as gifted and talented as you.
Right. Come on.
It's like an NFL player saying, I'm better than a high school player. So it doesn't mean you've maximized your potential. Stop comparing yourself to other people, and your only competition is you.
That's good.
Is the potential that God's placed inside of you.
That's good. When you came over to the house to do the show, there was a young lady there that we met. She does about $30-40 million a year in real estate. Before you came, I let her read just a portion of your book, and she was like literally asking me, can she keep it? Because someone at her level was being blessed by the book. Right? And I was like, wow, this is interesting. So when you have people who are here at this level, making all this money, but then you may have a single mom, you may have a retiree, you may have someone over here who's in the middle, can this book bless everyone at every stage of their life?
So here's a misconception. Money is not greatness.
Come on, man.
Now we're gonna have fun, okay? Being broke ain't greatness either.
Come on now.
So let's just call it spade a spade. Hey. Here's what the Bible says. The Bible says God brings wealth and he adds no sorrow to it.
Right.
Greatness is not money, it's not status, it's not followers, it's not influence. It's all of those things with the peace to enjoy it. And there's a lot of people that have built wealth, but they don't have the peace to enjoy it. There's a lot of people that have influence and followers and all that, and they're tormented, miserable people at night.
Right.
You could make a lot of money doing something you're not called to do. And it will take more from you than it gives to you. So first and foremost, for this book, it's gonna redefine greatness for a lot of people. And it's not making my mama happy, making my daddy happy. It's not being more wealthy than somebody else or doing better than someone else. It's, did I find why God placed me here on earth? And am I maximizing my calling here on earth? And that's what true greatness is.
This is our pastor.
Come on.
Wow. You know, growing up, man, I didn't have the privilege of being around wealth. I didn't get the permission to go be wealthy. I got the permission to go to school, graduate, get a good job with 401k benefits.
Come on now.
Keep your credit score decent. Love God, and settle for a woman who loves God only.
I like that you said settle.
That's what I was told.
Come on now.
You know, because, you know, we had those parents that just say, hey, listen, as long as you got a good woman who loves God, who can pray for you, doesn't mind if she attractive, as long as she look good for God. What?
Daughter of the temple.
Right. Come on, bring it back in. Bring it back in. Bring it back in. Lord Jesus, calm down. I'm asking the questions.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I think a lot of people, I've learned, they've allowed people's opinion to impact their moods.
Yeah.
When their mood is impacted, they miss their moments. How do we break through the opinion and the lack of permission to go in, to go be wealthy, to go get our dream cars, to go start that business that God put inside of us? Because I think a lot of people have not gotten the permission or the push from their family, from their loved ones.
Yeah.
They've only been told, go be good, but not be great.
Yeah.
How do we go be great? What can we learn from this book that's gonna help us to be there?
So y'all gonna be so annoyed with me over the next 25 years of my life because every answer is gonna be, well, in my book, if you read my book, the whole stop waiting for permission.
Yeah.
Is a lot of people are living a life that they've been given permission to live. This is what my neighborhood says acceptable. This is what my upbringing says acceptable. This is what Christianity says is acceptable. This is whatever else it may be.
Yeah.
So here you have Abram that has this great call of God in his life. You're gonna be the father of multiple nations.
Yeah.
And Abram doesn't believe what God says because he's stuck in a limited environment. He's in his tent. And when we think about tent, we think about, you know, Boy Scouts, camping, like a little tent the size of this rug.
Right.
No, think about people who are nomads for life. So their tent could have been the size of this room. And here is Abram, he's in his tent, he sees his wife who's barren and can't have kids. He sees his servant, he sees all these different things, and he says, God, what you said about me can't come to pass because as I'm looking in my limited environment, I don't see any evidence or proof that what you say is gonna come to pass in my life. And God said, well, of course you can't believe it because what you're looking at is not gonna inspire what I've placed inside of you. Let me take you outside. We get the Bible's part of it.
Right.
Count the stars if you can.
Right.
No. Take it this. Let me take you outside and show you what greatness looks like. Look at the great sky I made.
Yeah.
You can't look at greatness and not be inspired by greatness.
Right.
But some of us will not leave the neighborhood we grew up in.
Oh, my.
We won't leave the race of people that we feel most comfortable for. We won't learn from people who don't speak in tongues or do speak in tongues because that's not how we were raised.
Come on.
And because we've picked our tent
Yeah.
and we've demanded that God has to give us our vision in our tent, God says, no, that's not how it works. If you want to fulfill the call of God on your life, you've got to come out of your comfort zone.
Come on.
And let me show you something that you've never seen before. And then next thing you know, the greatness that you're looking at is going to unearth and inspire greatness inside of you.
Woo!
I was holding on to this and I didn't know where I was gonna bring it up. You mentioned earlier that we met at a Bishop T.D. Jakes round table.
Right.
And by the way, I might have been skinny, but you were short, so I guess we were just, but anyway, let's just.
I'm taller than our lead pastor in Charlotte, though, so I'm good.
Listen, the book has multiple purposes. You can finally get that cereal on top of the fridge. Anyway. So, dude, this would have been, It was like what, 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
6 years.
6 years ago.
Literally.
What he didn't say, 6 years ago, we were late 20s, early 30s.
Yep.
We were the youngest people in the room by probably 20 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This wasn't like a millennial gathering where Bishop was pouring into the next generation.
Right.
He was pouring into his generation. Yeah. I don't know how you got in there. I snuck in. I was like, I don't want to go to the millennial room because they're as dumb as I am. I want to get around people that have seen things that I've never seen before and are having conversations that I've never had before. Because when I hear how they think, I'm going to learn to think in a place of greatness instead of a place of familiarity.
So, because we're over time, I got to ask this question. The executive
my
pastor.
church, don't worry about the time.
Okay, cool, because your executive pastor, she looking at me like, hurry up.
Go ahead.
Pastor talking. Anyways, you know, you've built this amazing church. I remember when I first met you, you weren't
God did.
God did.
Go ahead.
God used you
to
build this amazing church.
Yeah.
When I first met you, you were not at this size.
Not even.
When I first met you, you were still in a high school. Was it high school or middle school?
High school.
High school, right? And so I've watched you and your wife and this amazing team build this thing. But I'm wondering though, when you were sitting in the high school, we're at the round table with all these mega pastors who have mega churches, who've experienced all this stuff. How did you manage to keep your pride, to keep your integrity, to stop comparing, and to really just focus on you and the calling God has on your life?
Yeah.
Because sometimes comparison can make us feel like, one, giving up or go do things that we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And then when we do that thing, we lose everything that we even built. How do we, and I'm pointing back to the book, because I read the book. I know the answer's in here, but I'm asking you this question. How do we really just control all that and still keep our eye where God wants us to go?
So you've got to figure out who you're in competition with.
That's good. That's good.
You got to be in competition, but who are you in competition with? And the only person you should be in competition with is the person that God's called you to be.
Yeah.
Or another way to say is the potential inside of you. So this is 2022. There's Stephen of 2022, and then there's Stephen of 2032, 10 years from now. God knows who Stephen of 2032 is supposed to be. It's not who I am today.
Yeah.
I've got to grow, I've got to mature, I've got to develop, I've got to become more humble, I've got to become more confident. There's a lot of growth that has to happen for me to become that guy.
Yeah.
And if my eyes are not locked on that guy, and I'm not, that's who I'm chasing, that's who I'm after, and my eyes are locked on Anthony O'Neal, for example, who is outrageously gifted, outrageously talented, all that other good stuff, but in a different calling and a different purpose. And if we're in competition, I'm feeling like a failure because you're kicking my tail.
I am.
But not in golf, though. So here's kind of just an analogy God gave me. You think about track and field. Think about all the different events. 100, 200, 100 hurdles, 200 hurdles, 800, 1,500, pole vault, shot put. I mean, there's probably 30 different events. You look at a 100-yard runner versus a shot putter. Y'all got that picture? Not same height, not same body makeup, not same muscle, nothing. They're fit and set for the competition that they're a part of.
Yeah.
And what happens is we have a 100-yard dasher comparing themselves to a shot putter.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, I'm faster than that shot putter, I must be doing well. You're in two different events. Paul said it this way. He said, you compare yourself by yourself.
Yeah.
You're looking at someone who should never be your competition. And I don't want to sound like I'm super spiritual, but because I spent so many years invisible, nobody seeing me, nobody caring about me, all I had was time to get anchored in Christ. So when I finally was revealed, all the books that I signed Romans 8:19 on it. The earth waits in anxious anticipation for the children of God to be revealed. Can we talk for a second? The worst thing that can happen is you be revealed too soon.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah.
And now, everybody wants to be an overnight success. Everybody wants to be the first to do something. They want to be the youngest to do something. I know it sounds hypocritical because it's like, man, you were 23 when you became the senior pastor. Yeah, but it was a church of 100 people and 150, and it wasn't like, you know, I didn't take over Potter's house at 23. And,
right.
Hey, nobody was following me on YouTube, and it was just my grandma following me on Instagram. It's not like I was this baller at 23. Like, nobody knew I was. But a lot of people, they want to be revealed, and it's like you don't want to be revealed too soon.
Right, sure.
Nothing's worse than someone giving you a microphone and you have nothing to say.
Mama.
Because for example, the NFL has now said you can't come out of high school straight to the NFL.
Right.
You at least have to do, was it 1 year in college or at least 2 years?
2
One
years.
of those two.
Yeah.
And here's why. They said a high schooler can't have the muscle mass.
No.
You just don't have the time to develop the physique. You can have outrageous talent,
Right.
but you're not developed enough, watch this, to not get hurt.
Right.
The place that you're gifted for at the right time will hurt you if it's premature. Since we're preaching instead of talking about the book. And then we get mad at God because he withholds things from us. And he's like, I'm trying to keep you from getting hurt.
Yeah.
There are grown men out there that are 300 pounds that run a 4.4.
Right.
And they will eat you alive. You need a year in college. You get what I'm saying?
So I want to say right there, because, and I'm going to keep it real.
What have we been doing?
Good question. You say that we got to be in the right place at the right time, well, God's time. And then you told us, like, well, we shouldn't be comparing. But comparison does happen.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to keep it real. This young lady walks up here. She's been married for 60 years.
Yeah.
I've been alive for 38 years and haven't found my one.
Yeah.
You have people in this building who were married, and unfortunately, they got a divorce. You have people in here who started a business, watching other people's businesses excel, win, and they're like, yo, but my business didn't win.
Yeah.
My marriage didn't win. You have single ladies, let's be real, who've dated some, unfortunately, horrible men, and they're like, yo, wait, how did you get married and I didn't get married?
Yeah.
It's easy to say don't compare, and I'm with you on that part, but sometimes we feel like we are failures. What would you say, Pastor? This is where we need the pastor to come in. What would you say to people who feel like failure? How do they start again?
Yeah. So because I am a pastor and man, they've been prepping me for interviews and I'm so ready for anything they throw at me. What am I saying? I'm saying I'm not going to answer your question. So I'll get to that in a second, but let me talk about comparison.
Yeah.
Here is an amazing woman of God that I know and is such a gift to our church that's been married for 60 years. I'm not comparing myself to her. I'm learning from
There you go.
her.
Yeah.
Here's what comparison is. I have to be better than. Make sense? She's not a competition. She's a vision of what God can do in people's lives. And because of the insecurity in us and the fact that we can't look at success and not be in competition with success, we're actually cutting ourselves off from a vision. God's trying to show you what to do. Greatness is repeatable. Okay, so we'll come back to that. All right, you failed, but you're not a failure. And a lot of people can't handle that. That if I admit that I've failed, that means that I am a failure.
Right.
So they do one of two things. They call failure success, and they blame God. This is what God had for me. If God wanted this marriage to work out, it would have. If God wanted this business to be successful, it would have. We blame things on God because we have not been able to separate our identity from our performance. And you've got to stop and do the work of getting a healthy heart. Like Paul said, it is in God that I live and move and have my being. My success is defined based on who he says I am, not who they say I am, my bank account says I am, or my performance says I am. I am not my performance. So because I am not my performance, I am not a failure, but I just failed. And if I can't say I failed, then I can't learn from that failure and I can't fail forward. Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I'm gonna be single and blame everybody else but myself.
Why are you looking at me?
I'm sorry. I mean, because we're getting into a touchy spot.
So don't look at me then.
No, but here's the thing. Because I don't have enough money, you could put whatever you want to put in there. Because, my wife walked out on me and I'm raising these kids by myself. Because my husband walked out or whatever it may be. I'm a victim of my circumstances. And it's just, it is what it is.
You're about to get in trouble.
I am, but I'm gonna be all right. Victims never won.
I think you need to say that one more time, Pastor.
A victim has never won. You will never find someone who approached life from the perspective of it's not fair.
Right.
That has accomplished anything great in life. And until you get to the place where you say, that was not fair, but that will not define me.
Come on, man. Here's the last question that I want to ask you before we transition into a panel. Before coming up here, I did a little bit of research, right? You are a pastor who's respected, y'all, and I got to say this because he won't say this, but everywhere I go, everyone always says, man, we love your pastor. And I'm talking about older, wiser people than him and I, who are like, man, I love what he's doing. I love what he's built. He's respected in the kingdom, and he's also respected in the world. The title of your book doesn't mention God at all. It is actually in the Christian and the personal development space. So I looked it up. In the personal development space, over 40,000 books are in this space. One of them to be one of your mentors, John Maxwell, who is the legend in that personal development space.
Yeah.
But then there's other people out there. But I was like, wow. And then when I look up the average age of someone writing a book of this magnitude was 48 or older. As a 30-something-year-old, young, hip, skinny pastor,
Tall.
you didn't. I'm gonna let him get that one. You didn't put God over this.
Yeah.
You made it so relatable to everyone else. I gotta ask you this question. You're one of the youngest to write a book of this magnitude. What does this bring to the world? What conversation do you want it to start in the world? Once we get done reading this book, what are the conversations we should be having at our dinner tables, with our girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, community? What's that conversation looking like?
So I'm taking you on a journey.
Uh-oh.
It's 2013. The church was probably about 300 people. And I don't know why, they must have sent the wrong email. But I got invited to a round table of about 20 pastors.
Okay.
At a church at the time was probably 35, 40,000 people in attendance. 13, 14 different locations, hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate paid for cash. I sit in this room, and when I tell you all of my heroes are in this room, It was like, I watch you on TV. Oh my, it was nuts. And this was still introverted, insecure, like voice shakes every time he asks a question in public, Stephen. And I'm expecting the senior pastor of this church who had built this amazing ministry to say, let me tell you how anointed I am and why my anointing has created all of this. Or let me tell you what my prayer life looks like. I fast and pray 475 days a year. That's what I was expecting. Can we be real?
Let's be real.
Because that's what I had heard at every other pastor's conference and every other round table I'd been to. Yeah. Be anointed, pray, fast. Be anointed, pray, fast, and he'll grow. Woo. And I'm expecting the exact same thing.
That's real.
And for 2 days, I heard this man that had one of the largest churches in America talk about, I was a C student in college. And here's how I learned to write messages. And here's how I learned to think like an unbeliever because that's who I'm speaking to. And here's how I learned how to attract staff, develop staff. And what he did was he took this behemoth organization that I could never in my wildest dreams pray about leading something like that. Right. And he broke it down into actionable steps. Wow. And for so many people, whoever you think is great, that person is a billion miles away from you.
Right, right.
They're lucky, they're gifted, they got a break I'll never get, they have something I don't have, right. And I can never do anything but admire them. And a lot of the books that I've read, not throwing shade at a lot of people, but it's here's how great I am, and here's the great things that I did. And the conversation that this book starts is, if you're waiting on somebody else, you're wasting your time. Because here's step number 1.
Yeah.
Deal with your heart.
Yeah. That's good.
Here's step number 2. Deal with your motives. Here's step number 3. What's your unique genius? What's the advantage that God's given you? Stop coveting somebody else's gift and figure out the gift that God has placed inside of you. Step number 5, hard work beats talent every single day.
All day.
So I'm glad you're gifted.
Yeah.
But if you don't get a work ethic and some faithfulness and a vision and on and on and on, and it's a step by step, do this and then do that and then do this and then do that and then do this. And the thing that I love about the book is it's not like, okay, when you get to chapter 11, you've arrived. When you get to chapter 11, you've hit your first plateau. Go back to chapter 1 and start over. Here's why. Because the heart issues that you had to deal with to get to this stage are not the heart issues that you have to deal to get to the next stage. Let's talk about heart issues.
Talk about it.
This is the scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
Is it?
The insecurity that writing a book brought up. Like I had moments, I don't cry much, but I mean in tears, talking to my wife, and here was my tears. Dad, God, I thought I had beat this already. I thought I was more secure than this. Right. I mean, the church is growing, I'm preaching messages, people love that, but here's what it was. I thought what I thought was security was actually success. And because the evidence around me said that I was good, I thought, I'm secure. And I was secure to a certain level. Yeah. But a new risk unearthed new insecurities. Right. And I had to go back to chapter 1 of my own book of, hey, are you comparing yourself? Hey, is your success based on people's opinion or is it based on God's opinion? And I marched through that whole process all over again. So here's the bad news.
What's the bad news?
Till you die, it's the same journey for all of us. It's God, heal my heart. Yep. God, deal with my motives. Yep. God, level me up. Yep. New success. God, heal my heart. Yep. Deal with my motives. Level me up. Yep. It's just a repeated process.
It really is. Stephen, we're about to transition, right? And I want to say
Pastor Stephen.
God, heal my heart.
Deal with my motives.
Deal with my... Jesus.
Oh, I'm having so
See,
much
I was about to
fun.
sit here and give him some praise. I'm about to be like, nah, run. Next, please.
Go ahead.
No.
Man,
Now listen, man, listen. Real talk, that's my brother. And he will never say this, you guys, but I have to. He can get me later on. You know, I've written a #1 national best-selling book, right? And I know exactly what it feels like to start the process, to work the process all the way through. While writing a book of this magnitude, he still had to be a husband. He still had to be a father. He still had to be a pastor. He still had to lead his staff. He still had to be a friend. He still had to be all these other things to everyone else to still write this. This book deserves to be a New York Times best-selling book. And he told me, don't push the book. I want to bless the people. Well, we're going to bless the people and we're going to bless him. Because I believe we as Union, it is our responsibility to make sure that we share this message and we get the message that God has given him out to the world. And so how do we do that? Is that you buy a book, #1. And then #2 is you got to share it on social media. Because let me give you the secret to your New York Times bestseller book. It's not by how many books we sell. It's about how can we spread the message across the world about this book. And our pastor needs to be a New York Times #1 national best-selling author. And so,
grateful for you.
I want to tell you, you taller. I'm gonna let you have it. But man, honestly, I appreciate you, man.
Man, I love you.
I appreciate you. I really do. So listen, we about
Before
to...
we go, I gotta circle back because it's my church.
It's his church. Don't look at me.
There's a chapter in the book said any dream worth building you can't build by yourself. Ooh. There's nothing that happens without an amazing team around you.
That's it.
So I've got to correct something you said.
Okay.
You said he wrote the book, but he still had to be a husband, still had to be a father, still had to lead the church and all that other good stuff. And that's not actually how it went down.
How'd it go down?
So it took me 10 months to write the book, and it was like, my wife hates when I say this, but it was like giving birth. It was, my gosh, it was...
She's not even looking at you right now.
Because she wants to smack me right now. That's what that is. But it was hair, teeth, and eyeballs. And it came down to the last month, September, TMI. So I missed my first deadline, and the publisher pushed it back 30 days. Wow. And they said, we'll give you an extra 30 days to finish it, blah, 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 month of September. So I went to the XPs, and I was like, y'all got to run this church for 4 weeks. Like, if y'all could run this for 4 weeks and let me finish this book, I'm telling you, like, the book will be great. God will bless it. He'll bless the church and all that kind of stuff. So there was about 4 weeks where staff did not see me. And they did not miss a beat. And I mean, led the church, launched groups, all that. Can you give it up? Come on now. So it was a team effort.
Yeah.
And for those 4 weeks, particularly the last 2 weeks of it, I was waking up at 4 a.m., writing from 4 to about midnight. Wow. Going to bed at midnight, sleeping for 4 hours, and getting back up and writing again. And for like the last 2 weeks of that month, my wife was like a single mom. Because I didn't wake the kids up, I didn't bathe them, I didn't put them to bed, I didn't help with their homework. And she was like, listen, I've got the house, I've got the kids, you finish what God's called you to do, we're in this together. So I want to honor.
Let's go. Let's go.
Come on now.
Let's go. PZ. PZ. PZ.
So all that to say, there is no success without a team.
Wow.
And I got the best team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
10 toes down, say it with my chest. I got the best team.
Okay. And that was also the time I beat you in golf because you weren't golfing as much. So, actually, we didn't even play golf. So anyway, and listen, we're about to transition, but before we transition, I want y'all to watch this quick commercial.
You'll never find what God's called you to do when you're trying to be the clone of somebody else. God's put a unique gift and talent and ability. I call it your personal genius.
I've watched highly gifted people not unwrap their gifts for 10 or 15 years. And it's a very sad thing, but it's because they lacked an awareness that gift was theirs to be activated right now. They didn't have to wait for all the answers. Unwrap the gift, use it, the answers come.
We use the term gift and we kind of make it more spiritual than it actually is. A gift is just something that you give away.
Yeah.
And if you want to know how good the gift is, just know how excited the person is when they receive that gift. And I think when it comes to knowing what your personal genius is and your personal gifting, it's what are people excited when you give them? Whether it's your wisdom, your communication, your affirmation, or whatever it is, and you'll begin to hone in on, here's what that gift is, or this gift, or whatever it may be.
But what I love about you and what I love, Stephen, about your book is you take greatness and you reduce it to simplicity and you reduce it to things that we do, that if we practice them over time, greatness comes to us. You make greatness reachable. I think a lot of people, it's so far out. They're going to give somebody a standing ovation, but it's not going to be them because they can never see themselves achieving that. God will never judge you on gifts you don't have. He'll never ask me what I did with gifts he didn't give me. He'll just ask me what I did with gifts that he gave me. And the way to exercise your gift and build your gift is to give it away.
So let's get into it, because I mean this is some good meat here, and boy, we got some good questions. I'm gonna go straight. Rodney, where you at? Rodney. Hey, what's your question for Pastor when it comes to achieving success?
Pastor, I get to work with a lot of business people who have achieved a level of success, and I would like to hear from you. Once you've achieved a certain level of success, what's next? What's next for you? Is it a destination that you check the box and say, I'm good, or is it something else for you?
So obviously, if we brought people up on the panel, they're going to be people that I know and friends, and people ain't going to say nothing crazy. So Rodney is, a really, really good friend, and we spend so much time talking. Rodney is just outrageously successful and is VP in corporate America, and I mean, I'm not trying to say things you don't want me to say, but is responsible for close to 70,000 employees, which is just, multi-continent organization. It's crazy. So we often talk about, man, there's people who they can't even think of what to do with more money. Like everything I could spend, I've made that more money. I can't get any higher. I'm the CEO of a company or whatever it may be. A lot of people are goal-oriented and they're not growth-oriented. The problem with a goal is you hit the finish line. And okay, now what do? I've hit my goal, as opposed to what is in me. And how can I get all that is in me out of me? How can I maximize my potential? If you look at the true greats, they never quit after they became number one.
That's true.
They never quit after they passed up whoever else it may be. I was watching the greatest of all times, LeBron James, earlier today. And He's gonna pass Wilt Chamberlain this year. If he stays healthy, plays all 82 games, he's gonna pass Wilt Chamberlain as the #1 scorer in NBA history. And they were asking him what he thought about it. And here's what he said. He said, I don't think about it. He said, maybe when somebody else posted on Instagram and I see that, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He said, the only thing I think about is going into the next season healthy and dominating that season, and then I'll figure out what comes next. And I think really when I'm not trying to hit this goal, I'm just trying to get the most out of life. We become goal-oriented though when we're out of alignment. If my job is only about the income I make and it's not something I care about, it's not something I'm passionate about, it's not something I'm gifted about and all that, I'm instantly thinking, we've had this conversation a lot, this whole I want to retire at 40, it disgusts me.
That was my plan, Pastor. I don't know.
Because and I get what people are saying. That by 40, I want to make my own decisions and do whatever I want to do. Right. But how miserable of a life is it from 40 to 94 to add nothing to society? To not make anybody else's life better, just to sit on a beach, and that's not existing. So the whole idea is, how do I maximize this thing in my life? I know I'm rambling, which means we're not going to get to anybody else's questions. But a major part of the book is there is no greatness, there is no success without balance.
Yep.
So a lot of people are successful in their career, but they're not successful as parents.
Ooh.
Or they're successful as parents, but they're not successful in their marriage. And if you are committed to, in every sphere of my life, my faith, my parenting, my marriage, my friendships, my career, my money, I'm gonna maximize every area of those, trust me, you will breathe your last breath before you get all of those to where they could be on this earth.
Before we get to another question, I want you to say right there, because we know he got a bag. Some of us in this room, or you know what, everyone in this room straight, because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not the pastor, so they can cancel me. But the people watching online, some of them have a bag, but it has holes in it. They say the average person in America will make anywhere between $48,000 if they're single. Couples will make about $64,000 to $70,000. And I was talking to this one couple, and they came up to me and said, well, you know, we good. Like, you're good making $70,000 for the rest of your life? She was like, yeah, we good. And I was like, Then they said, I'm gonna go down a little bit deeper. The average person who looks like you and me, right? Not average, 48% of black men like you and I this year will make less than $38,000. And then when I talk to some of those men, I'm like, yo, I'm good. I'm eating, I got a roof over my head, my baby mama's straight, you know what I'm saying? I'm good. Why do we settle to be okay and just good?
Yeah.
And how do we break out of that mindset? How do we build wealth and be Christians and be proud to say, I'm wealthy, I have this, I own this, I'm providing this. But I think sometimes Christians are frowned upon when we say we want to be wealthy. I remember when I bought my Bentley, my mama said, why you buy that Bentley? I said, because I want it. She's like, you don't need all that. I know.
It's not about need.
So, but why do we as Christians, why do we just stop at $48,000 a year?
Yeah. We demonize what we don't understand.
Good.
So I said on Sunday, you will either get better or you'll get bitter at those who do. And if you grew up not super wealthy, then you heard the conversations of, who needs a house that big? Who needs a car like that? It takes you from point A to point B. I don't know why you need to go there.
Right.
And a friend of mine said this. They said, because my father, not me, but because my father owned the company, I sat at a dinner table where I heard employers' conversation and not employees' conversation. What does the dinner table of an employee sound like?
Yeah.
My boss is unreasonable.
Right.
These hours are crazy. the pay stinks. I wish you hear oftentimes complaining. You hear the conversation of victim. Now, there's victim conversation at the employer table. These people won't work.
Yeah.
I can't find good help anywhere.
Yeah.
All they want is more.
Right.
And what it is my vision is limited by my environment. So because my vision is limited by my environment, I feel good. Here's the other painful thing. Can you say sucks in church?
Yeah, that sucks.
I did, right? Y'all notice how I do that? I said I ain't not gonna say it, but I actually say it. Y'all, life sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't know another way to say it. People get molested.
Yep.
People grow up never knowing who their father was or their mother was.
Yep.
People grow up with leukemia. Like, life is painful.
Absolutely.
And I don't care how wealthy you are, and I don't care how impoverished you grew up, life is painful for everybody.
Yeah.
So we all start off in the negative.
Yeah.
And it is so exhausting to fight back to zero. And a lot of people who never thought that they would get to zero, I never thought I could get married, more or less be happily married. Let me just find someone who's a Christian and that's good enough. I never thought that I'd be able to own a home, more or less pay one off. I never thought, whatever it may be. And because I had to fight so hard to get back to zero, and now you're telling me that I'm not good enough because I'm only at zero?
Right.
No, I'm fine here. I'm great. This is, and it just really comes down to worldview. And a lot of people have a broken worldview. And their worldview is that life is easy. And if you have a worldview that life is easy, you will not maximize your potential because you'll never have the internal fortitude to fight for everything the enemy has stolen from you instead of what he said you're allowed to have. One last thought since I'm having fun. You will never maximize your earning potential. What does that mean? You will never make as much money as you could make and also be a great parent. You'll never maximize your earning potential and be a great spouse or a great friend or a great believer. And that's where balance comes in. Yes, I can make more money, but it's gonna take me away from my home on a level that I'm not willing to be taken away from my home. I'm gonna have to be absent from my kids' lives to make that more money. I'm gonna have to abandon the call of God on my life to make that more money. And that's why if your picture of greatness is not balance, you will never be great, and you will what we call sell out for what other people equate to be success. So there is not that I can't make any more money, I don't want to make any more money. Because if I do, I'm gonna be absent in the home or absent in my faith or absent in another place. And that's not a price that's worth paying. And another thing.
No. We gotta get to these questions. Lord Jesus. Chantel, where you at? Chantel. There you go. Face it.
Hey.
Single mother of 5.
Yes.
Come on now.
Yes.
I just gotta say it. God bless you.
Thank you.
What's the question?
So, like you said, single mother, 5, ages 4 to 19.
You have a 19-year-old?
Yes.
Come on now.
Yeah. I'm also in school full time. I'm on my way to being a chiropractor.
Chiropractor?
Yeah, chiropractor. And I work, so still have to take care of the children.
Yeah.
I'm praying for my husband.
Come on now.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that I have to do, I'm doing on my own. And I just want to know, with having such a busy life, how can I still continue to continue on my purpose, towards my purpose, while also waiting for God to send me my husband?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll talk about the husband later, but don't wait on God. So a couple of things come to my mind. You can't do it by yourself. Nobody maximizes their potential without a phenomenal team around them. So you've got to build a team. If you don't have one already, you need to constantly evaluate your team. Think about sports. They're constantly hiring new and they're firing the old. It's like, you're sorry, but where we're going as a team, you can no longer play that role. So you've got to make sure that you've got sisters, you got mothers in Christ, you've got people around you that have your back, that are cheering you on, that are picking the kids up when you can't pick the kids up, and all that other good stuff. Because you're just not going to make it without a team. And it doesn't matter if you're single, married, empty nester, 5 kids, or whatever it may be. Anybody who thinks that they can maximize their potential by themselves is arrogant and naive at the same time. The second thing is, we've got to get out of this place that purpose equals career, or that purpose equals money. No, my purpose, I have Zoe, Roman, and Jade, is to raise 3 world changers that are confident, know their gifting, know their God, and know that failure is not final and that they can accomplish great things. That is my purpose. My purpose is my wife, to make sure that she knows that she's covered, that she's celebrated, that she's anointed, that there's a great call of God on her life. And it's my job to push her as high and as far as she can go. My purpose is union. My purpose is to be a son of Almighty God. My purpose is to be a really good friend. Man, if I had time to talk about that, people suck at friendships. And that somehow millennials in particular, we feel like I don't need to be loyal to anybody else as long as I secure the bag. Well, guess what happens when you secure the bag? You ain't gonna have nobody to call, nobody to celebrate with, and nobody to beat at golf because you weren't loyal. So I want to tell you, you're living your purpose. As you're maximizing the life of those 5 children, as you're in school, as you're working your tail off, you're walking in greatness as we speak. Here's what keeps you in greatness. Don't quit. Make sense? Now, can I have fun?
Yes.
Hey, watch where you're
course.
going with this next
Yes.
answer, though, bro.
Part of greatness is wisdom.
Oh, okay, that's good. I like that.
And wisdom is I'm not gonna kill myself trying to get to the next goal. So somebody without 5 kids, they may finish the degree in 2 years. You may have to finish it in 4.
Yep.
And that's wisdom. That's not being behind. And if you're in competition with somebody else, you'll try to keep, does that make sense? Wisdom is, at some point in the night, all them kids go to bed. You don't gotta go sleep. Just get out of my face. Because and that's not being a bad mother. It is, I gotta guard my heart and my mind, or I'm gonna have nothing to offer these kids because I'm gonna be pulling my hair out. So it's, hey, I'm going after what God has for me, but I'm going at a pace that I can sustain. And I don't feel bad if I'm behind somebody else because they weren't my competition in the first place. Keep going. Let's go. Let's do one more. Are we going to do questions from the audience?
I thought, should we do questions from the audience?
Now, y'all going to make them crazy? All right, we have 9 minutes. Let's do one more from up here.
Yeah.
We're going to do 2 questions from the audience, and at 9:15, sign some books, and have a great night.
And go home.
And go home.
We got to go to work
we're
tomorrow.
living in greatness.
I
sleep.
I went through all these, and all these are great questions, but I want to go to Ronnie, because Ronnie, you were talking about being a product of your environment.
Yeah.
And that's a good one. So, Ronnie, talk to us about that question, bro.
So I am the son of a single father, come from a single father household, which you don't really see a lot in our culture, and it has its own difficulties. I do have a 4-year-old daughter, and I found myself being a single father myself. And my father was amazing, provided, made sure we had everything we needed, but it didn't come without risk. And so I find myself doing the same thing, right? Taking those same actions, seeing those same risks being applied to her, right? Maybe that's 12 hours in the office, come home, I'm in the laptops, trying to make sure that these dollars are coming in to provide for her so that she never has to want for anything. And so I'm thinking that that's my purpose, make sure she has what she needs, never has to want for anything. But in reality, like you said earlier, that's more like a goal and my responsibility and not my purpose. And so now I feel like this emptiness where I don't know what my true purpose is and how do I differentiate that from my responsibilities and my roles.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Hey, hold on, Pastor. We always celebrate single mothers who are doing an amazing job. Can we celebrate single fathers?
Yeah. Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
So a couple of things I want to hit. Let me get 2 people to jump on the mics. We'll do 2 questions. We're going to wrap up this night. So you said, I'm repeating what I saw my dad do. So if you don't see something new, you're going to do the same thing you've been doing. So you've got to get around people that have your solution, not people that have your problem. Me and Anthony, we were like, I want to be around Bishop Jakes and people his age because they have our solution, not our problem.
Absolutely.
One of the problems with single folks is they only hang out with single folks.
Now you talking. Now you talking.
They've got the same problem you've got. They can't teach you anything. They are your competition. Not that there's competition. People who struggle financially often only hang out with people who struggle financially.
Now you really talking. Yes.
People whose career has stagnated often only hang out with people whose career is stagnated.
Yes, sir.
You've got to get around people who are where you want to be,
Yep.
not just where you are, which is the beautiful thing about church. Because I can sit in a connect group and I'm sitting next to a CEO, next to someone who was homeless 4 weeks ago, next to someone who's in full-time ministry, and I can get around people who are not from my world, but I need exposure to their world. The other thought, and I'll end here, a lot of parents don't understand the number one thing your kid needs is not money, it's not food, and it's not a roof. It's a healthy parent. And there's this mindset as a parent that it doesn't matter what happens to me. As long as my kids are good, then that's all that matters. Your kids can't be good if you're not good. And the most valuable thing you can provide for your children is to make sure that you're healthy, that you're anchored in Christ, that your confidence is on 100, that you found purpose, that you're running after it. And it may mean I don't work 12 hours, I work 8. And guess what? You don't get to play soccer because we can't afford the uniform and the cleats. And guess what? They ain't gonna die because they weren't going to the league anyway. Can I really be ignorant? And American soccer players don't make no money anyway, so it don't matter. You get what I'm saying? So it may be, hey, my kids don't, my parents were like, hey, we're in ministry. And because we're in ministry, there's certain things that you can't do. Like we couldn't play on travel teams because they played sports on Sundays and they went up to Philadelphia and Delaware and West Virginia, all the different places. And they said, hey, because of the call of God, not on my dad's life, but on our family, that's what we can't do. At that season of life, 11, I didn't understand it. I was good enough to get on the team and I couldn't play. I was mad. But now I'm grateful because they taught me what it looks like to follow the call of God instead of, you get what I'm saying? So take care of you. Take care of your heart, take care of your health, take care of your purpose, take care of your future. Yes, put food on the table, put roof over your head, put clothes on your back, but don't try to give your kids everything at the expense of who God's called you to be. Woo. Come on now.
Oh, man.
I don't know if we're gonna get to 2. Let's go, Stanil. By the way, the fact that you're leaving me and going to Charlotte, I don't. But you better go launch that campus. Go ahead. What you got?
So my question is, when you talk about like being limited by like your environment or what you see, so I've dealt with like sickness for years and different things, and so a lot of the mindsets that I've had to work to break has been like repetitive and cycle and like keep having to deal with the same things to level up, and so you kind of stop dreaming or stop believing for greater because you're like, will I ever get to see it, because you're battling this thing, right? So how do you, like, what do you suggest in like the reminder or like to break deep-rooted mindsets as you're walking in this journey of pursuing purpose and like that space?
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Maxwell said, everything you want is outside of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And if we choose to stay in a comfortable place, then we're never gonna get anything that we want. I said, my mom, my sisters battled sickness for years. My mom battled cancer for 13 years. Well, one of the things about sickness is the church will rally around you during the first diagnosis. But a lot of people don't have the stamina to keep up with you as your sickness goes into 2 years and 3 years and 4 years and 5 years and all that other kind of stuff. So they get tired of just supporting you, and you don't want to hate them, but it's like, all you got to do is call me. You ain't sick. Like, just, you get what I'm saying. And it gets exhausting. So what you've got to do is 2 things. One, you've got to make sure that my competition is not somebody who doesn't have to deal with what I have to deal with. And I've surrendered my goals to God. So whatever it may be, if being worth $1 million, if getting that PhD or whatever it may be, if that's not what God has for me, I'm okay. Because my identity is not tied up in my achievement. My identity is tied up in who he is and what he's called me to do. Does that make sense? Yeah. You might need to get around people who don't battle sickness, so you can get a vision of how do people think that they don't have to worry about what energy they're gonna have when they wake up in the morning. And I've gotta start thinking like that, because I'm not gonna allow myself an excuse. Tracking? And then when I'm not feeling well, I'm gonna be all right with the fact that I'm not feeling well. And I'm gonna take care of me. It's a lot of people, they just can't do the balance thing. I'm gonna give it my all until I can't. And when I can't, I will feel zero guilt about the fact that I can't, because that's where I am in life right now. Good deal. We jump here and we go, hey. We go Cowboys. And you gonna wrap this thing up. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. Only dumb. Go ahead.
So I wanted to get to back to talking about your unique genius, right? So what do you do if you feel that others identify more of your gifting and your purpose than you do yourself?
Yeah.
And people are telling you, you know, you're this, and I see you doing that, and you know that you're talented, you know that you may have a gifting, but you lack the confidence and the vision to fulfill what others see in you that you sometimes don't see in yourself.
That's a phenomenal question. That was a good question. And we'll wrap it. So a couple of things. It's really easy for somebody to tell you what to do with your life, because they don't have to go through the pain of accomplishing it. They don't have to deal with the failure and the setback and the leveling up and all that other good stuff. So let people see gifting in you, but don't let them tell you what to do with that gifting. Because they'll tell you to run through a brick wall, and they would not run through that wall themselves. First thought. Second thought, other people will see gifting in you before you see it in yourself. No gifted person thinks that they're gifted because what they call gifting is just Monday for you. Do you think LeBron really says, wow, I'm tall? Not unless he's around short people, but other than that, he's just like, I'm LeBron. You know what I mean? And here's what a lot of people say. When did you know you were gifted? When I looked at the results I was getting and the results somebody else was getting, and it wasn't the same. My results were exponentially further ahead than them. Other people saw ministry in me before I saw it in myself. I remember being 16 years old and my 27-year-old manager at Foot Locker would pour their life out. Here's what I'm going with. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's my life. Here's this. Here's that. And I'm here. Take this step and go there. And pastor, you got to deal with your heart. And they're pulling all this gift of wisdom out of me that I didn't even know that I had. So pay attention to what people see inside of you. And then you've got to get in your mind, I am not my performance. You will not maximize your potential without taking a risk. If you don't risk failure, you will never maximize your potential. So if you're scared, do it scared. If you don't hey, I don't have the courage, great, do it without the courage, but just do it. Because when you're older, you will not regret the risk you took. You will regret the risk you did not take. And you're going to be like, man, I wish I had tried that. I wish I had jumped out. I wish I had taken one more step. So God bless you. I think we're done. I don't know what you're about to say. Do what you're going to do. At some point, I want to pray over everybody and impart and do my pastor deal. So go ahead.
I want to ask this question. I felt it in my spirit, right? I heard you say a lot about like, go do it, risk the fear, risk the fear. And I was like, yo, there's a lot of people, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble when I ask this question, but there's a lot of people who are risking it all when they shouldn't be risking it. So many people, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm gonna start this business, I'm a business owner, and they're broke. They're not building anything because they're pursuing the wrong thing. And I didn't want this night to go away and they hear our pastor saying, go risk it all, go risk it, get out of your comfort zone. When they've been out of their comfort zone and they haven't built something.
Yeah.
How do we know we've gone too far and that's not our thing?
Yeah, definitely. So faith and foolishness are not the same thing.
Good night.
And both of them can be jumping. So here's what Satan said to Jesus. Jump off this cliff and prove to me that you're the Son of God. Jesus said, that's foolishness. Satan said, if you're the Son of God, he'll command his angels to catch you.
Right.
Jesus said, I don't have anything to prove to you. Most people make stupid decisions because they're trying to prove something to other people. Here's the other reason why people make stupid decisions. Jesus said, jumping off this cliff doesn't take me one step closer to the purpose that God has for me.
Come on, man.
I will not take a risk that's not connected to purpose.
Good God.
So I'll give the author answer and then we're done.
Okay.
How to take a good risk is chapter 7 or 8. It's not chapter 1. I'm still memorizing the book. Everybody wants to jump right to risk.
Yep.
And they don't want to do chapter 1, 2, 3, which is faithfulness, which is discipline, which is deal with your heart, which is have a vision and have a plan. If you start with risk, you'll fall flat on your face and you'll be in your mama's basement. Don't start there.
Well, y'all, can we clap for our pastor?
Come on.